Okay, so we are going to go through Genesis 46 through 47. So we're going through two chapters today. So for this one, if you got your Bibles, open them up, and if you don't, well, we you can always follow along. So here we go, and let me just get my face out of here. All right, so here we go. Chapter 46, verses 1 through 7. Now Israel took his journey with all he had and came to the well of Oath and offered a sacrifice to the God of his father Isaac. Then God spoke to Israel in a vision of the night and said, Jacob, Jacob. And Jacob replied, Here I am. So God said to him, I am the God of your fathers. Do not fear to go down to Egypt, for I will make you a great nation there. I will go down with you to Egypt, and I will also surely bring you up again. And Joseph will put his hand on your eyes. Then arose from the well uh, then he arose from the well of Oath, and the sons of Israel carried their father Jacob, their baggage, and their wives in the carts Pharaoh had sent to carry them. So they took their livestock and their goods, which they had acquired in the land of Canaan, and went to Egypt. Jacob and all his seed with him, his sons and his sons' sons, his daughters and his sons' daughters, and all his seed he brought with him to Egypt. Entering epilogue territory here now. So Jacob has started his journey to Egypt and goes first to the well of Oath to offer a sacrifice. So God speaks to Jacob in a vision there, and he okays the journey to Egypt. Jacob did the right thing there. He started out by, doing that. So he did the right thing there. So Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob all have offered sacrifices to God here, by the way, and they've all done this at this well of Oath spot, and they've told Jacob God has told Jacob here that he'll see Joseph before he dies and that he'll rise him up, which is interesting. So, anyways, here's the next ones, verses 8 through 15. Now, these were the names of the. We're getting a genealogy here, by the way. So here we go. Now, these were the names of the children of Israel, Jacob and his sons who went to Egypt. Reuben was Jacob's firstborn. The sons of Reuben were Enoch, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. Sons of Simeon were Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, might be Hakim, maybe. Hamin, Hemuel, could be that. Zohar, and Shaul, the son of a Canaanite woman. So one of these was Canaanite. The sons of Levi were Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Judah were Er, Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah, but Er and Onan died in Canaan. The sons of Perez were Hezron and Hamul. The sons of Issachar were Tola, Puva, Job, and Shimron. The sons of Zebulun were Sered, Elon, and Jahil. So these were the sons of Leah, whom she bore to Jacob in Mesopotamia of Syria, and his daughter Dinah. All the souls, his sons and his daughters were 33. Verses 16 through 18. The sons of Gad were Ziphion, Haggai, Shuni, Esbon, Eri, Arodi, and Arieli. The sons of Asher were Jimnah, Ishwa, Ishwi, Beriah, and Sirah, their sister. And the sons of Beriah were Heber and Malchiel. These were the sons of Zilpah, whom Laban gave to Leah his daughter, and these she bore to Jacob. So 16 souls. The sons of Rachel, verses 19 through 22, sorry. The sons of Rachel, Jacob's wife, were Joseph and Benjamin. To Joseph in the land of Egypt were born Manasseh and Ephraim, whom Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, bore to him. Sons were also born to Manasseh. Machir, whom his Syrian concubine bore to him, and Machir begot Gilead. Also the sons of Ephraim, I cannot say it today. Manasseh's brother were Shutila and Tehan. The sons of Benjamin were Bela, Becher, Ashbel, and the sons of Bela were Jerah, Naaman, Ehi, Rosh, Mupim, Hupim, and Jerah begot Ard. These were the sons of Rachel who were born to Jacob. All the souls were 18. Forgive me if I messed those names up. They're not easy to pronounce. So, verses 23 through 27. The son of Dan was Hushim. The sons of Naphtali were Jazeel, Guni, Jezer, and Shillem. These were the sons of Bilhah, whom Laban gave to Rachel his daughter, and she bore these to Jacob, 7 souls in all. All the souls who went with Jacob to Egypt, who came from his loins, besides Jacob's sons' wives, were 66 souls in all. The sons of Joseph born to him in the land of Egypt were 9. Thus all the souls of Jacob's house who went to Egypt were 75. So all of them are well advanced in age now. Joseph has grandchildren now. Most of the brothers do too. And after Babylon's exile, the 3rd and 4th century BCE, Jews would live in On, or Heliopolis, and eventually there would be a city, Leontopolis. And when that was founded, they would found a temple on a hill, Tel Yehudi, the hill of the Jews, and that operated there until 73 AD. And they did sacrifices there. So 70 AD in Jerusalem, they did not finish doing sacrifice. Jews did not quit doing sacrifices. They still did some of them in 73 until 73 AD at Tel Yehudi at Leontopolis. So that's kind of a sorry preterist for that one, because the preterist will say that all the sacrifice, well, the full preterist will say that all sacrifices ended and the old covenant was destroyed in 70 AD. But the truth of the matter is the Jews were still practicing the old covenant. They were still doing it, and this didn't stop just because a temple fell down. It didn't stop in Babylon when Babylon took him out, and it didn't stop when Rome took him out. Well, not exactly yet, but anyways, so we're just going to continue now. That was a little sidetrack there, but something that my podcast people that watch this would understand why I'm saying that. So verses 28 through 34. Now he sent Judah before him to Joseph that he might meet him in Goshen in the land of Ramses. So Joseph made ready his chariot and went up to Goshen to meet his father Israel. And he presented himself to him and fell on his neck and wept a good while. Then Israel said to Joseph, now let me die in peace since I've seen your face, because you're still alive. Joseph then said to his brothers, I'll go up and tell Pharaoh and say to him, my brothers and those of my father's house who are in the land of Canaan have come to me, but the men are shepherds, for they are pastoral men, and they've brought their flocks, their herds, and all they have. So it'll be when Pharaoh calls you and says, what's your occupation? You'll say, your servants are pastoral men from our youth, even till now, both we and also our fathers, so that you may dwell in the land of Goshen and Arabia. For every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians. But by the time they get to Exodus, Israel and the Egyptians' ethnicity, quote unquote, will get very blurry. So, Israel only, my people that listen that are Israel only, Israel only full preterists, and just Israel only in general. This is a problem for them, because when we get to Exodus, Israel and the Egyptians' ethnicity does not matter. It's going to get so very blurry, and it'll be wild, actually, what we're going to bring up in Exodus about that. But Joseph and, let's just put it this way, Joseph and Asenath will not be the only Israeli-Egyptian couples to mix in history. Many will even have Egyptian names in Exodus, like Moses and Miriam. Those are actually very Egyptian, very, very Egyptian names. So you may, and I got to bring this up, because if you're reading the Bible right now with me, you may be reading different numbers in your Bible. And that's because there are really no numerals that are used in this time period for Hebrews. Sumerians in the ancient world had a vague way to give us numerical values, but no one else really did it. Not very easy to do numerals. So usually Sumerians had tally marks, and then they did a circle for 10. And it isn't really until the Romans do their numerals that we see precise numbers given. So with precision numbers in the Old Testament, it is very hard to argue these. It's very hard to argue for a precise number in the Old Testament, because every manuscript is going to have something a little bit different on it, and it will be different. Until Roman and Arabic, we do not get precise numbers for many ancient texts. And this isn't just the Old Testament here. It's other texts in the Near Middle East, a whole bunch of religions, a whole bunch of ancient Near East literature. You don't really get precise numbers. You do get vague numbers. You get some vague ways to do it, right? But yeah, we don't really get precise numbers. You also won't get the number 0. Like, it's very number 0. That's an interesting topic too, but we might talk about that some other time. So, because we got to get back to the point. So Jacob and Joseph, they reunite, and Ramses is mentioned here. This is actually an update by Ezra because it's a place name, because it's not Ramses yet. Joseph warns the brothers when they meet Pharaoh about them being shepherds because, again, they're Asiatics, and because of the Hyksos rebellion, they won't be found to be very popular here because the Hyksos referred to themselves as shepherd kings also. So something there with that. So Joseph is simply looking out for them here and trying to keep peace and not cause offense or a problem with the big Asiatic clan moving into Goshen, Egypt. So that gives you, it's not precise, but it gives you some indication that it might have been after the Hyksos rebellion that Jacob and them came to Egypt. If it is historical, then that might be where it is. So just keep that in mind when we're going into all this. So anyways, we're going now to Genesis 47. Joseph saves Israel and Egypt. So verses 1 through 12 of chapter 47. Now Joseph went and told Pharaoh and said, my father and my brothers, their flocks and their herds and all they possess have come from the land of Canaan. And indeed, they're in the land of Goshen. So he took 5 men among his brothers and presented them to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Joseph's brothers, what's your occupation? So they answered Pharaoh, your servants are shepherds, both we and our fathers. They also said to Pharaoh, we've come to dwell in the land because your servants have no pasture for their cattle, for the famine is severe in the land of Canaan. Now therefore, let your servants dwell in the land of Goshen. So Pharaoh spoke to Joseph, saying, let them dwell in the land of Goshen, and if you know of capable men among them, make them overseers of my cattle. Thus Jacob and his sons came to Egypt, and Pharaoh, king of Egypt, heard about it. So Pharaoh spoke to Joseph, saying, your father and your brothers have come to you. The land of Egypt is before you. Have your father and brothers dwell in the best of the land. And Joseph brought in his father Jacob, and set him before Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Jacob, how old are you? And Jacob answered, the days of my sojourn are 130 years. Few and evil they've been, but they've not attained to the days and years of my father's sojourn in life. So Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out from before him. Thus Joseph settled his father and brothers and gave them a possession in the land of Egypt, and the best of the land, and the land of Ramses, as Pharaoh commanded. Then Joseph provided his father, his brothers, and all of his father's household with bread according to the number of individual persons. So Joseph and them talk with Pharaoh. He's cool with them, and he even says if they're good enough, they can oversee his cattle and help him out with that. Pharaoh talks to Jacob, asks how old he is. Jacob answers 130. Some translations say 120. And Jacob blesses Pharaoh. Jacob blesses Pharaoh here. So Israel blessed Egypt at one point. So that's interesting. Verses 13 through 31. Now there was no food in all the land, for the famine was very severe, and both the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan were devastated by it. So Joseph gathered up all the money found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, for the grain they brought and all he doled out to them. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. Thus, when the money ran out in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came to Joseph and said, give us bread, for why should we die in your presence? For our money has run out. So Joseph said, bring your cattle, and I'll give you bread for them, if your money has run out. So they brought their cattle to Joseph, and he gave them bread in exchange for their horses, sheep, oxen, and donkeys. Thus he fed them with bread that year in exchange for all their cattle. When that year ended, they came to him the next year and said to him, we will not hide from our Lord that our money has run out, and my Lord also has our possessions and cattle. There's nothing left in the sight of my Lord but our bodies and our lands. Why should we die, therefore, before your eyes, both we and our land? Buy us in our land for bread, and we in our land will be servants of Pharaoh. Give us seed that we may live and not die, that the land may not be desolate. So Joseph bought all the land of the Egyptians for the Pharaoh. For every man of the Egyptians sold his land to Pharaoh, because the famine was that severe upon them. So then the land became Pharaoh's. Now as for the people, he moved them into the cities from one end of the borders of Egypt to the other. Only the land of the priest he didn't buy. For the priests had rations allotted to them by Pharaoh, and they ate their rations Pharaoh gave them. Therefore, they didn't sell their land. And Joseph said to all the Egyptians, "Indeed, I've brought you in your land this day for Pharaoh. Look, here is seed for you, and you'll sow the land. Then it will come to pass in the harvest that you'll give 1/5 to Pharaoh. 4/5 shall be your own, as seed for the field and for your food, but for those of your households." So they said, "You saved our lives. Let us find grace in the sight of my Lord, and we will be Pharaoh's servants." So Joseph made it a law over the land of Egypt to this day that Pharaoh should have 1/5, except for the land of the priests only, which did not become Pharaoh's. So Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt, in the land of Goshen, and they acquired possessions there and increased and multiplied exceedingly. Now Jacob lived in the land of Egypt for 17 years, and the length of Jacob's life was 147 years. Thus, when the time drew near for Jacob to die, he called his son Joseph and said to him, "If I found grace in your sight, put your hand under my thigh and deal with me in mercy and truth. Do not bury me in Egypt, but let me lie with my fathers. You will carry me out of Egypt and bury me there in their burial place." So he said to them, "I will do as you say." Then he said, "Swear to me." And Joseph swore to him. So Israel bowed himself on top of his staff. So it is a long famine, even with planting. 7 years. People still need grain, and Egypt and etc. are all financially unstable. So the people give Joseph their livestock for grain, so he gives a controlled distribution. Their money runs out the next year, so they give up their lands next. And we'll start to see later in this that Ephraim is going to become primarily associated with Gentiles, Joseph's people. So only the land of the priest, it says, were sold to Pharaoh. Everyone else was subsistence farming until the famine. So also, some of the stuff you might be noticing coming out of the Hyksos dynasty, Pharaoh whichever Pharaoh this was, he was probably in a relatively weakened state at the start of the New Kingdom era. So this explains the eventual growing and consolidation of power that the Pharaoh ended up gaining. So now, because of Joseph, everyone is functionally working for Pharaoh. We have a weakened Pharaoh who's growing in power here. And in Exodus, we'll have an incredibly powerful Pharaoh who has enslaved the Israelites and built cities with slave labor. So God gave Egypt and Pharaoh all this in Genesis, and this Pharaoh here respects it. But the Pharaoh in Exodus will forget Joseph, and he will disrespect it and forget that God gave it all to Egypt and Pharaoh. And Joseph and his Pharaoh are aimed at saving it in life, but in the Exodus, Pharaoh is from the start anti-life. God saved Egypt and will humble Pharaoh in Exodus to try and correct and save Pharaoh. But Joseph, for future famines, makes it law to keep 1/5 at the harvest in grain, and that explains why they continued that in Egypt. So Jacob does die at 147 years old, having been there in Egypt for 17 years. He makes Joseph make an oath to him that Jacob will be buried with Abraham and Isaac when the Israelites return to Canaan one day. So in this next one that we're going to do later, we'll get to Genesis 48, and we will talk about some blessings that happen. So this was a little bit of a longer one, but it's necessary. So it was necessary to do that one. So if you like this podcast, I ask you to hit like and subscribe so that you can get more videos when I put them out. So I hope you got some good out of this, and if you like it, I'll see you again the next time. God bless you, and we'll see you on the next time. Thank you.